Still good?
اوکی. سلام به همه دوستان عزیزی که وقت گذاشتن و تو این سمینار شرکت کردن. عرفان هستم، فاینانشال ادوایزر و اینوستمنت اسپشیالیست با TD که کارهای مربوط به مورتگیج و با سرمایه گذاری رو انجام میدیم. خیلی خوشحالم که تونستیم اولین همکاری رو با پند انجام بدیم و تونستیم این سمینار رو برگزار کنیم. امیدوارم که این سمینار خوب پیش بره و بتونیم که تو آینده همکاری‌های بیشتری داشته باشیم با سازمان پند تا همه دوستان عزیزی که هستن بتونن از خدماتی که ارائه میشه بهره‌مند شن. بازم تشکر میکنم و سپاسگزارم از اینکه تو این سمینار شرکت کردین و وقت گذاشتین. امیدوارم که جلسه خوبی رو در پیش داشته باشیم. I'll pass it to Ibrahim to start off the presentation.
Thank you so much, Irfan. So I just want to thank everyone again for taking time out of their busy schedules to attend this seminar. The major thing that I want to discuss and cover today is all the aspects and knowledge pieces for buying your first home in Canada. So as you guys may know, we have all come to this country to make it our home, hopefully. So this is the most important thing, is to find a home to raise our families in. So that's what we're here to cover and to help you find out how to do. All right. If you want to scroll down to the next slide there, David, thank you. All right. So before we even dive into the discussion of how to buy a home, it's crucial to think, should I buy a home first, and assess if you are ready for this big commitment. Now, as you all know, there are two different types of scenarios. The first scenario, which is to rent, as most people do. The second scenario, which is to actually buy a property. So to each side, there are their own advantages and disadvantages, which I can elaborate a little bit more here. So for example, an advantage of renting includes less responsibilities around the property, requires less money upfront to actually rent, and if something breaks, you call someone to fix it. It's not your problem at the end of the day. Right? So these are some advantages of renting, but there's a huge opportunity cost there. So when you start renting, you forgo owning an asset as your home. Now, all the money that you'll be putting up for rent, you will not be able to recoup that because you're contributing to an asset that is not yours. So that's what home buying comes in. So with buying a home comes pride of ownership and an increasing asset value, because later on in life, you can sell and make some money on the appreciation. All right. So now, how do you know if you're ready to buy? So there are a few things to consider before jumping to that decision. A few things include making sure that you're willing to fully commit to live in a specific area. Now, it's important to know what services are available around you in each area. They can include a variety of things from schools, grocery shops, malls, gyms, etc. And also, it's important to decide whether you're planning to buy a condo, apartment, or a house. So each also has advantages and disadvantages as well. So a few things to consider for each include, but are not limited to, condos may have condo or maintenance fees that must be paid by you, the owner, every month to maintain the property. Freeholds, such as just a normal standalone house, you do not have to pay any condo fees on that, but they generally cost you more on property taxes every year. Now, you might be wondering what those fees are. Condo fees, tax fees, like what is all that? And I can cover that in the next slide. So there are many different costs associated with buying a property in the first place, not just the mortgage payment. Now, normally when you rent, it is just a rent payment, but as you see with owning, there is a mortgage payment and a few other things. So it's important to create a budget to make sure that you can afford purchasing a property. Mortgage payment is one part of the equation, but you must consider property taxes, condo fees if you're buying a condo, home insurance, as well as utilities. All right, so now that we've decided that we're all ready to go and we want to make sure that we're buying the property of our dreams and the home of our dreams, you must consider three things. You have to consider your down payment, your income, as well as your credit history to be able to obtain a mortgage. So the first of the three is the down payment, which I'm covering in this slide. Down payment is the sum of money that you would have saved to put down on the place on your big purchase. So the minimum requirement that is required for a down payment to purchase any type of home is 5%. 5% on the first $500,000 of the purchase price, and 10% for any additional dollar above the $500,000 mark. Right? If you want to scroll down to the next slide there, David. So now we know what the down payment is. Now let's talk about the sources. How can a down payment come in? So it can come from many sources. Some include savings, a gift from family, whether it's in Canada or abroad, or borrowing from your retirement account. So you can borrow it from your retirement account, but you'll have to leverage something that's called the first-time home buyer program. Now, this type of program lets you borrow up to $35,000 from your retirement savings plan without having to pay any additional tax on it to fund the purchase of your first home. So this is where the down payment can come from, but it's also crucial to consider some costs associated with your purchase. Some include legal fees, house inspection, a land transfer tax. So generally, we like to tell our clients to save up at least 1.5 to 4% of the property value aside from the down payment to make sure that there are no hidden fees associated with the move. All right. So now that we have the down payment saved and ready to go, let's talk about getting a mortgage now. All right. But first, let's talk about what the mortgage actually is. So a mortgage is a loan that the lender would provide to you to ensure that you're able to fund the purchase of your home. This loan, however, is secured by the home itself. So mortgages can be paid for a period of up to 30 years, and that is what's called the amortization, which is the lifetime of the loan. Another important part about mortgages is the interest rate. Now, which means the actual cost of borrowing to pay for the mortgage. Now, interest rates have two parts. I'm going to break them down in a simplistic way here. So there's a fixed interest rate, which means that the interest rate is locked in based on current rates and does not change for a set term. Now, what is a term? So a term is the period of time that the rate is locked in for. Once that term ends, you'll have to come back to the bank and renegotiate your rate. Another type of interest rate is called a variable rate, which means that the interest rate will be calculated based on current rates, but will never stay the same. Interest rate is always going to fluctuate based on current market conditions and what the Bank of Canada decides to do with their financial policies. So some question that I always get is, Ibrahim, which one is better? Do I go with fixed or do I go with variable? The answer is always going to depend on your personal situation and circumstances, and I'm happy to discuss it on a one-to-one basis. All right, if you want to go to the next slide there, Dave. So now that we know what a mortgage is, let's talk about how to get one. So the first step to getting a mortgage is to actually get pre-approved. And what that means is when you come to the bank, and the bank would look at your overall finances. They'll look at your income, down payment, credit history. Call it the 3 pillars of obtaining a mortgage. So based on those 3 things, we're able to approve you for a purchase price for the home based on these 3 factors. So it's crucial to get a pre-approval as it helps you understand what your budget is. It gives you an advantage in the market. As you know, the market is constantly shifting. Prices are increasing. So you want to make sure you know how much you can afford before placing an offer on a house. Okay. So to show you guys an example, I'll be using the TD Mortgage Affordability Calculator here with my manager, David. If you want to walk through it, David, hope you don't mind.
I don't mind.
All right, perfect. We'll be asking some personal questions.
Some of the numbers are going to be all fictitious, so just give me one second here. I'm just pulling this up on the screen for us because I got to share a different one.
All right, perfect. And again, this is this type of calculator. It's called the TD Mortgage Affordability Calculator. You guys can find it just by Googling that, Googling the Affordability Calculator by TD, and can kind of help you know what your budget is. All right, David. So David is a customer. I'm the advisor. Let's start. So David, where did you want to live?
Oh, the best city in the world, Ottawa.
Amazing. Let's put Ottawa in there. We'll hit next. All right, David. So were you considering buying a house or just buying a condo or an apartment?
3 kids. We need a house, my friend.
Oh, yeah. There you go. House it is. All right, David. The $1 million question. What is your annual income?
Oh, let's say for me and my wife, it's 120,000.
All right. Thank you. Put that in there. Hit next. And now here's the question again about down payment. So as you guys can see, there's income, and now we're talking about down payment. So how much do you have saved up, David?
Let's say there's 50,000 for our down payment.
All right, amazing. Good saver. All right, now tell me a bit about your monthly expenses. That can be groceries, childcare, insurance, any of that sort.
Ooh, gas and food. It's getting more expensive. Let's say we're at $2,500 a month.
There you go. We'll hit next. And the last but not least, again, this is a credit question. So what are your monthly payments for loans, car loans, leases, student loans, any type of debt obligation that you might have, David, per month?
Sure. Let's say my car is not paid off and I have to pay $450 a month for that.
All right. Perfect. So now that we have all the numbers, we're ready to know how much David can afford. All right. So David, congratulations. You may be able to afford a home worth up to $566,000 based on your current situation and what you told me with regards to your income, with regards to your down payment, and with regards to your credit. Okay. Right. We won't physically know until we do the full application itself, but it gives us a nice understanding before we dive into it. This calculator also shows you how much you're paying for the loan at the bottom. And if you scroll down all the way, this is why I love this, because it shows you listings in the area for that price. So you can do it from the comfort of your own home and just find out where you can buy. There you go. That's a double garage.
That's what I need.
That house fit?
That's perfect.
Amazing. All right, let's go back to the presentation. All right, so as you see, we just did a pre-approval calculation with David. Now David knows how much he can afford. He can go into that property and make the offer confidently. Okay? So if you're still not sold on doing a pre-approval before your purchase, here's another point. You can lock in your interest rate for 120 days when you do a pre-approval. So to give you guys an example, as we all know, the interest rates are going up. So if today's rates, for example, is 3%, and you come to us to get an approval, we give you the pre-approval, and you go look for the house. 3 months from now, you find the house of your dreams. You say, you know what, Ibrahim, I want to buy the house. When you come back to me in 3 months, the rates are going to be at 5%. You will be able to get the same loan, but at the lower rate. Because the advantage is you came in 3 months ago and you locked in a rate of 3% as opposed to the rates right now of 5%. So you just saved yourself 2% with just coming in, locking in your rate, and finding a home. It's very simple. All right. So it's also important to note that TD is always competitive with their rates, and we will go the extra step to ensure that you have the best rate possible. Okay. If you want to go to the next slide there, David. Perfect. So now that we have the mortgage, now let's talk about paying it down and what features we have here at TD to help you pay it down faster. All right, so you're allowed to pay off up to 15% of the original amount of your loan every year. And I want to stress on you're also allowed to double your monthly payments. Now, it's important to note that when you double your monthly payment, any increase that you're increasing your payment by is going towards paying the loan itself as opposed to paying interest on the loan. So these are two ways that you can utilize both of them to help you pay down your mortgage faster while avoiding any potential fees. All right. You want to go to the next slide? Perfect. Perfect. All right. So let's talk about who helps you buy a home. Who's the team here? Now, normally there are 4 people involved in this process. One is optional. 3 are normally required. So the first person is your mortgage specialist, which in this case is myself and Irfan, and we can provide you guys with our contacts at the end of this presentation. So our scope includes assessing your overall finances to give you that approval. We make sure that you get the best rate possible, and we can be as competitive as need be with other institutions. And we also create a financial plan to sustain your mortgage in the future and to help you grow your asset, grow your net worth. We also have the accreditations, the means, and the education to do so. and we would love to partner with you in this journey to make it as seamless and as smooth as possible. All right, so that's us. Now let's talk about your realtor. So the second person is your realtor, who will be the expert in helping you find the right property. They will help you find one that fits your specific needs. So what they do is they help you negotiate a price that fits your budget, assist you in making the offer to purchase a property, and also any commission that they would make is normally paid by the seller, included in the purchase price. So normally you, the buyer, do not have an obligation upfront, a financial obligation upfront. Comes out of the purchase price. All right, if you want to go to the next slide there. Now, home inspectors are very, very important, but also very, very optional. So they help you assess the overall condition of the property you're looking to purchase, and they help you make sure that it is in good, standardized condition. They also make you aware of any potential fixes that might need to take place in the future when you start owning the property. Like the roof needs replacing in 3 years, for example. That could be one thing they look at. All right, next slide, please. And the last person is having your real estate lawyer. So having the real estate lawyer is a required part of the process. They help you do all the legal work, from transferring the title of the land or the property, registering the mortgage under your names, etc. So the most important thing that I would like everyone to take away from this is to make sure that you're asking your lawyer about potential tax credits if you are a first-time home buyer. So I'll give you guys a piece here. So first-time home buyers save up to $4,000 of land transfer tax when they purchase a home. So that's $4,000 that you do not have to pay, and you can actually save towards your down payment, fixes, or whatever else you need. But make sure that your lawyer is aware that you are a first-time home buyer. So if you do not have a lawyer or a realtor, we have plenty of connections that we can recommend to you upon request, of course. All right. So now that we know who the dream team is, let's talk about how the deal is finished and how you get the keys. Because let's be real, at the end of the day, that's what matters. Closing on the house and getting that key. All right. So here's a little bit about how the process goes in the most simple way possible. So you come to me, for us here at TD, you get the pre-approval. Then you go to your realtor to help you find the house with your pre-approval letter. After you make the offer to buy a house, the seller would normally accept the offer. As soon as that happens, your realtor would send us the offer and the house details. We'll change your pre-approval, that was a pre-approval, to something that's called a full approval. Then you sign all the bank mortgage documents. As soon as that's done, your lawyer is normally engaged. They set up a time with you to sign all the legal work. Once that's done, there's normally a closing day, and on that day, you receive your keys. And that's that. Okay, so this is the most simple way to break down the process. All right, so now that we have bought the house, now it's crucial to learn about protecting the house, because normally for an average Canadian, it's the biggest asset and the biggest purchase that someone is ever going to make. So let's talk about how we protect that. So one of the mortgage terms of agreement is to obtain proper home insurance in place. Now it has to cover the home from structural damage as well as fire insurance. Okay, so this is mandatory home insurance. You can talk to many different agencies. I believe TD Insurance covers that as well. The other part of insurance is called the mortgage credit protection, which is crucial because it ensures that the balance on the mortgage is covered in the case of death, accidents, critical illness such as cancer, stroke, or heart attack. And this is offered through your bank upon obtaining the mortgage. It helps you cover you and cover your loved ones as well. All right, let's talk about the next slide there. So now that we're all done with your first home, it's crucial to set up a savings funds for future needs. So the recommended amount is to have at least 6 months worth of total expenses in that fund, which can be in a savings account, to ensure a comfortable standard of living. In the case of job loss or an emergency, or even to fund some repairs that might come up in the house. All right. So I just want to thank you guys so much for providing me with this opportunity to walk you through the process in these slides. What I want to do now is I want to open up the floor for any questions that you guys might have, as I did cover a lot of information and I'm sure there's a lot of questions on the table. So If you're more comfortable speaking in Farsi as well, that's why we have Irfan here. He will be able to translate for you guys and answer any questions that you might need. Please feel free to unmute your mics and turn on the cameras as we're done with the slide. So bandwidth is not a big issue. So please go ahead and if there's anyone that has any questions, if there is a raise my hand button, I can take a look. I have Kiana, right?
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for the presentation. I just have a question. I'm not sure if you can answer that or not, but anyway,
sure.
You have more knowledge than me. Actually, I decided maybe a few months ago to go for variable rate because I thought with myself that would be better, less rate based on the things that the Bank of Canada announced that they're going to go hike to 1.25, but so far as we can see, it's just like 25% went up and the 0.5% after, and we are hearing that US gonna go for another hike for 0.5%, so probably Canada gonna be follow that. So if they do, we're gonna reach the amount that they mentioned before, like 1.25. You're thinking so Canada gonna go higher than that, even they announced a few months ago, or?
That's a very good question. It's very valid in today's environment. Now, normally, I know that the Bank of Canada has set dates on when they do decide that interest rates, whether increase or decrease throughout the year. They normally announce it. I'm not entirely sure what these dates are. The way the market is right now, we forecast that interest rates are heading in the upwards direction. Now, that being said, a fixed rate might be an advantage here, but a variable rate is also really good. It comes down to what you're really looking to do with your mortgage. Now, I'll give you guys a little bit more about prepayment and how to prepay your mortgage. So with a variable rate, the advantage of that is you're actually allowed to prepay any amount on the mortgage while only incurring up to 3 months worth of interest. So the only prepayment penalty that you would be worried about is 3 months worth of interest, and that's it. Whereas if you were to fix a term and you come in to make a huge lump sum on the mortgage or fully pay it out, then you'd be worried about paying the full amount of interest that you would have missed out through a more complex calculation, but it can lead to a hefty fine. So if your mortgage is, say, $400,000, $500,000 and locked in, it can lead to a hefty fine when you prepay that. So again, it really depends on your own personal situation and what you're looking to do. But we know rates potentially will go up in the future. So if you have no plans or on paying down that mortgage faster at any point in time between now and, say, whatever the term that you're looking for, it might be a benefit to you to lock in a rate.
Okay, thank you for the paying off the loan. Do you mean the amount more than 10% a year that we are eligible to without any penalty?
Yeah, more than the 15% per year. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
No worries. Thanks so much for your question. All right. And please, if you have any question, just there should be a button beside your names there to raise your hand. So Kiana, okay, perfect. And now
and just one other thing for Kiana, just to let you know, sometimes when, depending on who your mortgage is with, they may or may not increase your payment as your interest rate changes. So what's going to happen is if you don't make any increase to your regular monthly, biweekly, weekly payment, when your mortgage comes due in 3, 5, whatever your term is, you've been putting less money on a variable towards the principal when your rate increases. So you may end up having a bit of a shock on renewal date in 5 years from now that they tell you, oh, you're currently paying, let's just say, $1,000 every 2 weeks. Now all of a sudden you have to pay $1,500 every 2 weeks. So if you are on a variable and you have the budget to do so, I would recommend most banks allow you to increase your payments as your rates increase. If you're not going to go to a fixed rate, ask them if you can increase your payment. Any amount is going to make a difference. So any amount is good.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks so much, David. And now let's take Amir's question.
Hi, and thank you for your presentation. Just, I wanted to ask if it would be possible for you to share the slides with us after the session.
Not all.
Thank you so much.
I will send it, I believe, Irfan or whoever was the host here, and they can distribute the slides amongst everyone for sure.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Amir. All right. Let's take a question from Ashkan.
Yes. Thank you. I wanted to ask if somebody decides to go with the pre-construction project, is the mortgage process different from a already built house or apartment, and about the rates and everything?
Yeah, amazing question and very valid. In this environment, I'm going to actually pass it to David to answer that. It's a little bit more of a...
Yeah. So typically what happens is the banks will have a list of builders, and we'll have rates that we can hold for set times. It just depends on the builder. What it usually looks like is we hold the rate for typically a year, 2 years, depending on when they're going to be completed. The rate, I can tell you for sure, is not as good as the going rate right now. The reason being is because they're holding it for a very long period of time. So what I've done in the past is we've locked in the rate on the builder's rate, and each builder has their own list, so we'd have to pull them up and see where they are. And we'd hold that rate for a year, 2 years, depending on the time frame of when it's expected to be completed. And as we get closer to the completion, and we know that they're actually going to change the ownership, because sometimes you can move in before you actually own the house. But when we know that you're actually going to take ownership of the title, we can take a look at what the going rates are. And in the past, the rate environment has been for a long time going down. So sometimes we've gone with the current rates at the time. However, it seems as though the environment now is more of an increase. So it may be more of an advantage to stay in the rate that you got a year to 2 years prior to. But very good question.
Got it. Thanks.
No problem.
Thank you. All right. Let's take a question from Rahim.
Hi, Ibrahim. Thank you. Do you hear me?
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. Ibrahim, I'm not a permanent resident. I am a worker. And does it affect the process, or can I even apply for a mortgage, or I have to be a permanent resident at first?
Yeah, so we have a policy for non-permanent residents. I'm going to let David here talk about the specifics behind this policy. I think you're muted there, David.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Great question. Yep. So we do have the ability for non-residents to buy houses. So we'd be more than happy to sit down with you and talk to you about what would be required as far as income and down payment. As long as you have employment here, then and most people are looking towards staying here for their long term. Otherwise, you wouldn't be buying a house. So we can certainly assist you in doing so.
What is the effect of this situation on the interest rates? Does it affect the interest rate and details?
No, your interest rates would be the same. So we wouldn't have like an extra fee that we would charge you just because you're a non-resident.
Thank you.
It just goes through a separate procedure, some separate documentations that we might need, but yeah, there is no upcharge to charging non-residents on a mortgage.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you, Rahim. Let's take a question from Mobin.
Hello, my question is, what about crowdfunding loan? Like, not as a person, as a corporation, how can we get a loan, and what's the term?
A crowdfunding, can you please elaborate a little bit more on that?
Like as a crowdfunding, we want to raise some money for buying construction. So how can we get a mortgage loan from the bank?
while having a crowdfunding loan. So any type of loan that you normally would have to report it on the application itself, because normally you will have to, like any type of normal loan, you'd have to make some monthly payments to. And I'm not sure if you remember that question we did on the affordability calculator there. Any obligation to debt has to be reported. So if you have a crowdfunding loan that you're paying monthly payments of, I don't know, $400, $500 a month, that has to be reported on the application. But I'm not sure if there's any implications to it. I'm not sure if David can answer that.
I just want to make sure, is this you're looking at a group of people looking to buy a property together, or this is you're getting funds from a group of people as a loan payment?
A group of people has a loan payment.
Group of people as a loan, yeah. So then, because what it would fall under, it would fall under like our down payment confirmation. So anything that's borrowed, we would have to put in a payment for, which would affect how much you could qualify for.
Yeah. So normally, the more debts there is, the less you can qualify. Like that's a general rule of thumb. But yeah, if you're borrowing money to fund your down payment, that has to be reported, and any monthly payments that you would make towards that loan will have to go in on the application itself as well.
Thank you.
No worries. One thing I do want to clarify, if if people are looking to get a gift from family members, that is very valid, and we can use that as a form of down payment. I'll tell you my personal situation. I got a gift from my father when I was purchasing my first house. We just had to sign a gift letter saying how much was the gift for, why is he giving it to me, type thing, and we were able to include that as a form of down payment. So if it's a gift, it's a completely different situation. As soon as it's a loan and there is some monthly payments involved, it's not a huge deal, but it does have to be reported. Okay. Let's take a question from Mo.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for your presentation.
No worries.
I'm a newcomer to Canada. It's been a month that I've been here, and I just wanted to ask, how long does it take to build a valid career and employment, or mostly the credit score to be able to get the loan and mortgage from the bank?
So now so welcome to Canada, first of all. Came at a perfect time after the winter. They're not gonna like winters here, trust me. But yeah, so to go back to your question there, you did mention talking about credit. Now I wanted to ask, did you obtain any credit cards yet?
Yes, I did.
You did? Okay, so the first thing is, let's focus on the credit card. Make sure that you use that credit card and you're always paying it down on time. I always recommend to pay down the full balance on the credit card whenever it's due. Any late payments negatively impact your credit score. Any payment on time positively impact that. So try to always use your credit card for any type of pre-authorized payment, groceries, or anything like that. And always make sure that you're paying it down on time. I know with us here at TD, we're able to set it up to be automatically, like we set up a pre-authorized deposit from your bank account to your credit card whenever the bill is due. There's no forgetting there, just to make sure that you're building that credit score. And sorry?
Sure.
Sorry, was that more? Okay, this is, hold on, give me 1 second here. Someone forgot their mic on. Perfect. Okay, so that's for credit. As far as building a career here, there are many different, I want to say, staffing agencies. There's many resources to get accreditation to start towards building a career here for sure that you can check out. Normally, we do require we do require some history of employment to make sure that we can approve someone of the loan based on income. Normally,
how long should it be, the employment history?
Yeah, for sure. So if you are new to Canada and you just started like a full-time solid employment, normally we need at least 1 year to show. But let's say you don't have that. Let's say you only have 3 or 4 months of employment. Then we would require pay stubs, the most recent pay stubs. And we also require what's called the letter of employment from your employer, showing your guaranteed minimum hours, your guaranteed salary, and the fact that you are strictly not on probation. So once we have these 3 things, company's letterhead signed by your manager, as well as the pay stubs to support, then we can actually include that as a form of income on exception basis.
Is there any exception for that? For example, if I increase the down payment, is there any other? I mean, what I'm looking for is to buy a house as soon as possible. So what is your recommendation?
So yeah, normally if your down payment is under 20% of the property value, then it has to go through TD's approval as well as CMHC, which is the Canada Mortgage Housing Corporation's approval. So it has to go through 2 bodies, which is the bank and the government, to approve of the loan. If you're providing more than 20% down payment, then the government does not have to approve of it. It's going to be only TD's approval. So to answer your question, if you're looking basically to have one form of approval, it's better to provide more of a down payment, because then only TD will be looking at the loan and approving it, as opposed to TD and the government.
And in this case, do we have to prove that we had at least 1 year of employment, or is it
No. Like I said, normally make sure that you're at least not on probation with your employer. If the employer is able to provide you a letter guaranteeing minimum salary and minimum hours work to be full-time, and you have some pay stubs to show for it, normally the requirement is 3 months. It's just we have to make sure that we note that, but it's preferred to have 1 year, but it is doable with 3 to 4 months as long as we have the letter. And no, it does not affect like any interest rates or anything like that. It's just a matter of, is it going to get approved? And then when we look at the full application, our back office will decide.
Okay, so it's a matter of guarantee rather than the
yes,
interest
exactly.
And,
exactly.
Other than that, when we want to build our career, we might change our employee. So,
of course.
What if we have to do that to improve our incomes? Does it cause any problem?
No, the more the income, the better. If you're looking to obviously improve your career, amazing for you. It's just from a lending perspective, the bank is going to want to see the guaranteed minimum salary to be put on the application. So if you're able to get a job that pays more, for example, because you're advancing your career, we need to make sure that you're not on probation with the new job as well.
Okay, thank you for your help and answers. Thank you.
No worries at all. Thank you, Mo. All right. I'm not sure if I'm saying this right. Hidia Azad?
It's Hedia, yes.
Hedia, sorry.
No worries. So if someone is on contract and not in their job, can they apply for a mortgage?
If someone is on contract, it's a very good question. I'm not sure if David has that one.
It depends. We're in Ottawa, where a lot of government jobs are contract. So it's not a yes or a no. It falls into a situational standpoint. So it's not a clear answer. To be honest with you, I've seen some where they're a contract and they don't typically like it because you're not guaranteed that income. However, because we are in Ottawa and a lot of the government jobs are contract, I have seen a lot of deals where even though they are on a contract, they've been in a contract renewing for many years, and they've been able to accept it. So it would really depend upon on a case-by-case basis to know what could be done with that. So the best thing to do is to put in an application pre-approval and see where you can get set up, so that you can know better situated if you can be approved.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. Yeah, I see that's why a pre-approval is really important to do before making a purchase on a house, because you want to know how much you can afford and how much the bank is willing to approve you for. Thank you so much. All right, let's take a question from, Kasra.
Hello. Thanks for your time and explanation. I have a question about the gift. I want to know that is there any limitation to the amount of the gift? And another question is that can I receive the gift one time or two times? Is it possible or not?
I'm not sure if there is a limitation on the gift. David, you can correct me if I'm wrong there.
There's no limitations on the gift itself. The conditions is typically that it's from a close family relative, and that it's not repayable. Those are the main conditions on it.
Yeah, and there is no limits on how many gifts you receive.
I've seen it in one shot, and I've seen it in two parts as well.
Yeah, and there is a specific form that we fill out for it from our end. The gift recipient and the gift sender have to sign and acknowledge that this money is not to be repaid back. And yeah, we can go from there. So it's doable.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll take a question from Sarah.
Hi, could you please talk about the mortgage discharge process a little bit? Like, for example, if you're selling the house to buy a new one, or when we pay off our mortgage, what is the process?
Yeah, so assuming that you fully paid down the house, can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, either case. I'm not sure if there is a difference if we're selling or if we pay off and we want to discharge the mortgage.
I see. Okay.
Is there
Yeah, so basically, like scenario is, let's say your house is worth 400K, you have 200K left on the mortgage type situation. You want to sell it and buy a new one? Like, is this kind of what we're talking about? Not sure if you're muted there, but...
Sorry, my connection was dropped.
No worries.
Question?
Yeah, so just giving you a typical situation, like you have 200K left on the mortgage, but your house is worth 400,000. You're selling it and you want to buy a new one. Is that like kind of the situation you're in?
Yeah, so we're thinking about maybe upgrading to a bigger house.
Okay.
So selling this one and get a mortgage.
Okay, for sure. And I'm not sure if David can correct me if I'm wrong here, but basically the lawyer on the purchase and sale agreement would normally take care of the discharge.
The main thing that you want to do is, if you're mid-term, if you're in the middle of your term, most banks will allow you to port your mortgage. And what a port means is it means that you can take your mortgage to the next property. Within TD, it's 120 days. So what will happen is most people upgrade. So they buy a bigger house. So what happens is they may need extra funds on their mortgage. So if their balance is 200 on their existing mortgage, they keep the same rate and term for that mortgage. And then there's a blended rate at the going term for the increased amount that they're going to borrow. Okay. So if you're upsizing, you're moving to a bigger place. The best thing to do is talk to the bank where your mortgage is at, so that you can port your mortgage and you don't have a penalty. to pay out, and you know what the terms and conditions of that are. And if you're downsizing, then whatever, of course, you're reducing your mortgage by, then there's going to be an interest cost associated with that. Great question. Did that answer what you were looking for?
So what if you're close to the end of our term and we want to change the lender? That's why we want to like change the lender. What if?
Then what you want to do in that scenario is you want to make sure that you get into your new lender, hopefully TD, 120 days before that maturity, that final answer is. Because as Ibrahim was saying earlier, we can lock your rate in 120 days before the maturity. So what it'll do is 120 days beforehand, we can lock in the rates then. And then as your mortgage comes due, then you've got it set up there. Now, most banks will have a standard, what they call discharge fee at the end of the term. And it varies from person to person, like from bank to bank as far as how much it is. Could be in hundreds. Most of the time it's in the hundreds of dollars, but you can't quote me on it because I only work at TD, so I can't speak to what the numbers are at the other places.
Yeah, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah, that's assuming there is no like any type of prepayment penalties, assuming that the term is ending there. If the term is not ending, then there is more fees associated with it as opposed to the discharge. Thank you, Sarah. All right. Let's see. Human?
Hi. Thanks for the presentation. I have a question. I have a pre-approval from TD, and the expiry date is pretty close. I'm wondering if this pre-approval is renewable or not.
When you say the expiry date, you mean you're talking about the rate's expiry date?
Yeah, it has 120 days. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so good question. That rate is only normally locked for 120 days at the time of the application and at the time of when you locked it in. So you would have had to purchase a house and make sure to close on the house that you're purchasing before the rate expiry date. Now, if you're looking to extend it, unfortunately it's not possible because rates have gone up and 120 days is a cutoff. What I advise you to do is, if you know that you're not going to be purchasing a house between now and the expiry date, I would speak to the advisor that did your pre-approval and make them lock a new rate for you as of right now, because the rates today might not be the same rates tomorrow, and we're in an environment where the interest rates are continuously hiking up. So if you're interested in a fixed term mortgage, I would contact the advisor and make him lock a new rate for you if you can't buy a house before the expiry date.
I see. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
No worries. Good question, though. All right. And we have Kasra again.
Sorry, no, I don't have any question. Thanks.
Okay, no worries. On the hand. Mo.
Just another question. Let's suppose we buy a property, any given property, and then we change our idea. We want to, for example, move to another city, and meanwhile the prices have changed substantially, and you need to sell the property and buy another one. In this case, what happens to the difference of price of the house?
So just let me kind of break it down for you. Good question. So you're saying, for example, I'm just going to lay out a situation here. You purchased a property and you got a mortgage on it for $600,000. 2 months later, you want to sell and move to a new city. Now you can only sell it for $300,000 because the market has dropped. Is that kind of the question?
Yes. It might be, you might have a drop or even an increase.
Or increase. Okay. Okay, no worries. Correct me if I'm wrong, David, here. But as far as I know, if we were to sell the property on the on the lower end. So if there was a loss on the purchase, I assume that you are still responsible for the amount of money on the mortgage. I'm not sure if David can correct me here.
100%. In that case, fortunately or unfortunately, mortgage house prices tend to go up more than they go down. So most of the time we haven't seen that, and because you have to put a down payment down, usually you benefit more than what you're selling, what your mortgage balance is for. But however, if the prices were to drop, then of course you'd be responsible for the difference. But similar to what I was saying earlier, if you are still planning to own a home, the best option is always to port, because then, you just bring the mortgage to the new property, and it's not, there's no charges associated with it as long as you can close within the time frame, which with that TD is 120 days. On the positive side, if the house is worth more, then hey, you've just appreciated in value, and you've now got more money down for your next property. So you're in a better situation.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
No worries. Good question, Mo. All right. I'm just looking for hands here. If anyone has any more questions, please feel free to ask. I'm not sure if I'm saying this right. Perov? Perov, you can go ahead with the question.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to ask, in the case of refinancing a mortgage, can we get the same rate as we got in the past, or refinancing a mortgage needs to renew and is a new rate and a higher rate? Just imagine the rate a couple of months ago was real low, but now is gonna to sky. So my question is, in the case of refinancing a mortgage, can we get the previous rate or not? Thank you.
Yeah, amazing question. Now here's my question to you. Now, when you said you have a mortgage right now and you're looking to refinance, did you lock in your rate, or did you keep it in the variable?
The mortgage is fixed rate.
It's fixed rate. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have some options with refinancing. It's called a home equity line of credit, or a flex line, which the way it works is you refinance the property. The more you pay the loan down, the more it becomes available to you to reuse later. For example, for a renovation or anything like that. To answer your question about interest rates, if we can get you the same interest rate, yes and no. So what we can do is we can take your current mortgage and port it into this home equity line of credit at the exact same rate for that specific amount of money that you already borrowed. Any new money that you're looking to borrow is going to have to be negotiated at the rates of the day that they were borrowed.
Which means I expect a new rate, not previous rate.
Yes. Expect a new rate on anything new, anything that you have done in the past. If you're looking to combine it under one product, same rate for that.
And everything is assessed again. For example, the house is worth right now a house. It's not the price of 2 years ago. So it needs to be reassessed again.
So yeah, that's So that's a great. Sorry, go ahead.
And you consider 65% of the price of the house price, or 80% of the price of the house?
Amazing question. So normally, we're able to lend you up to 80% of the house's value as a loan, provided that your income is able to support it. So let's say, for instance, you bought the house 3 years ago at whatever price it was, 400, 500,000. You have a $300,000 mortgage. Great. If the price today is $1 million, then we're able to lend you up to 80% on that, assuming that your income supports that. So you could, in theory, refinance for up to $800,000.
With the new rate.
With the new rates, yes. You can keep the rate on the existing mortgage that you have, but anything new, it has to be under a new agreement. So it's going to be with the rates at that specific time.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. One thing I want to add to that is, say, for example, you're looking to refinance, we can still lock the rate in for 120 days until the refinance is over. Perfect. Thank you. And we'll take Amir.
Hello.
Hi.
In what situation TD may ask our credit history, for example, credit history of our home country? For example, I'm here in Canada 2 years and have a good credit history. In what situation TD may ask our home country credit history?
I'm not sure if David can correct me here, but as far as I know, we don't. We only ask for Canadian credit history. Not sure if David can correct.
Yeah, the only time where we do get a letter from the if you've established credit history in Canada, then don't worry about it. You're set to go. The only time that we would ever ask for that is if you're brand new to Canada and it's followed under our new to Canada policy. And in those circumstances, then we would get a standard reference letter from where you came from, so that we could confirm your credit history there.
Okay, but for example, I'm here in Canada for 2 years.
You're good.
But I'm declined from TD. My mortgage declined from TD, and they asked me your credit history from your home country, which everybody knows here that in Iran there is no credit history, which is weird.
So you got declined based on the credit history in Iran, not here?
I declined because I cannot show my credit history from Iran because there's no credit history in Iran. And everything is fine. I have a good job, good down payment, everything. But I declined from TD. I don't know, maybe my mortgage broker do something wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the situation behind that is.
I'm temporary resident. I'm worker with work permit here, not permanent resident. And they said that because of this, we want your home country credit history. But I'm here for more than 2 years.
Not sure, is that a requirement under the new to Canada policy, David, or?
Yeah, so it would all depend. It would be something that we would have to look at to see what we could help you out with, if there's another option for you. Mortgages are, depending on certain policies and certain ones that we look at, depending on down payments and income and credit. It would just depend on which pillar we would look at it, which would be the best opportunity for you to take a look and see. I
mean, I would love to take a look into it for you as well. If we have our contacts here, if you guys have, if you want to work with one of us, either me or Irfan, to kind of take a look at the deal and see if there's anything that we can do to make sure that we can hopefully get you approved. Would love to take a look at it.
Oh, thank you.
No worries at all. Thank you, Amir. And let's take a question from Mo.
Thank you again. Just another question. We're talking about newcomers, so I was wondering if there is any special offers for newcomers as permanent residents.
We have an offer right now for anyone who's looking to get a mortgage with TD. That's not just explicit to newcomers, but any type of mortgage that we get from TD could net you upwards of up to $3,000 in cashback. So that's the offer that's ongoing right now, and that's the campaign. Newcomers specifically, I'm not sure if we have anything. Not sure if David would know something about that. I can double check on customer programs here, but
mostly on the new accounts. So for the new accounts, yeah. So we try to set up anyone who's new to Canada to build the credit history, because we know how important that is. So getting them a credit card, an account. Maybe, Fan, you want to speak about some of the new to Canada packages?
Let me take a look here. New to Canada. I'm pulling up the packages here. Okay, new to Canada, the details. I'm reading them off from our own internal website. So yeah, I believe we have a $400 cash offer ending May 30th, 2022. If you're not currently banking with TD, then you can start banking with TD. You get a unlimited account for free for the first 12 months, as well as a $300 cash. With the savings account, you get another $50, and to start with your credit card with TD, that's another $50. So it's a total $400 offer, and you get the benefit of a free unlimited checking account without having to worry about a balance.
Thank you for your suggestion, but I was precisely asking about mortgage offers.
Mortgages, yes, yeah. Mortgage offers, nothing specifically for new to Canada, but we have the $3,000 campaign for getting a mortgage between now and August 31st for the cashback. So depending on the mortgage balance that you're looking to obtain, you could get upwards of $3,000.
Thank you again.
No worries. All right, thank you, Mo. And I'm not sure if there's any more questions from the floor. All right, doesn't seem to be many questions. If there's anyone that needs any translation, we also have Irfan here, who would be able to translate to you guys in Farsi if need be. I don't think we're run into any of these issues so far. But just for closing remarks, if there's no more questions here, honestly, I want to thank you guys for this opportunity. I want to make sure that I thank you for letting me, David, and Irfan discuss the first-time homebuyer seminar with you guys. Here's our contact details. My personal contact information on the top right, Irfan's personal on the top left. If there is anything that you guys might need with regards to obtaining pre-approval, looking to refinance, just looking to know more about purchasing a home or refinancing in general, please give us a call or send us an email below there. Other than that, thank you so much for attending, and I'm not sure if David has any closing remarks as well for the crowd.
Yeah, I'm just going to give a little bit of information on some of our new to Canada, since it was popular. So they're looking at people who've been here within the last
5 years,
within the last 60 months. Yep, and have landed with landed immigrant status, at least 3 months employment history, and basically looking to confirm standard income documentation from that. But we were more than happy to sit with anyone and go over. I know that sometimes Sometimes not everything fits 100% in certain types of scenarios, but we're always willing to go to bat and see what we can find out for you and let you know. And worst case scenario, like even if it is something that we can't do, you know, I do have a couple of friends that work at connections that work in broker areas. So if it's something that we can't do, there's a way that we can get you to someone who will, because we want to be able to get you to your first home, because it's exciting. It's a journey. It's something that you wanted to do. A lot of people aspire to it as a part of their retirement and for their family. So we'd be more than we'd be excited, and it would be a privilege to be a part of that journey for you.
Amazing. Thank you, David. One thing I wanted to add as well, here at TD with the pandemic going on, we have also shifted. We do appointments over WebEx now. So if you're looking to start talking about your first house, pre-approval, refinance, and you're not comfortable coming into the branch, we host meetings just like that on WebEx, where we can have a one-on-one time for like an hour up to 1 hour to an hour and 30 minutes, where we can go through that discussion, do the full application on remote, and send you hopefully the pre-approval letter after everything is done, just from the comfort of your own home without having to step foot into the branch. So I just wanted to make that clear. But yeah, other than that, thank you so much for attending. I'm not sure if Irfan has any closing remarks as well.
Yeah, so we have someone who wants to ask a question.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's A. I don't know what's the name. So.
سلام عرض میکنم. امیدوارم حالتون خوب باشه و
ممنونم. شما خوبی؟
من و همسرم پیار داریم و 3 سال پیش اومدیم اینجا، یا مقدار بیش از 3 ساله اومدیم اینجا، ولی کار نداریم، یعنی جابی چیزی نداریم، ولی نمیدونیم چجوری میتونیم مورگیج بگیریم، چون اگه بخوایم خونه رو نقد بخریم خیلی پول میخواد، لازمه که مورگیج بگیریم. کاری میتونیم بکنیم یا نه؟
Okay, so let me ask a question. So they're a couple, they're in Canada, they're permanent resident, but they don't have any job, but they're looking to buy a house. Is there any way to help them with the mortgage, or they need to have employer?
So yeah, that's a good question. Normally, it's not just about getting approved for the mortgage. What we do as financial advisors, we have to make sure that we're providing the right advice to you. So if there is unfortunately no income as it stands right now, we cannot make sure that we're giving you the right advice by telling you to obtain debt. That's just not the right thing to do, and we do not support that. So the first thing that we have to look at is income, to make sure that you are indeed able to support that huge obligation that you're about to take on, which is purchasing a property. So the simple answer to the question is yes, income is a necessary aspect of the application process.
Thank you. Thank you.
لازم هست که ترجمه کنم یا اوکی هست؟
نه فهمیدم، ولی ما بچه هامون اینجا هستن، اونا هم هیچ کاری واسه ما نمیتونن بکنن.
Okay, so they have a children here, they're working, so can they be on like application with them?
Yeah,
for a mortgage?
Of course. If as long as they are 18 and above and they are currently working, then yeah, standard income confirmation would need to happen. But yeah, you can have, I'm not sure, is it upwards of 5 or 6 on one mortgage application? I'm not sure if David would know the answer to that.
Oh, that's a good question, but I don't remember. I've seen 5. I'm not. I wouldn't want to give the wrong information there. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so we've seen 5. So possibly 5 is doable. So yeah, you can have multiple people on the application, and you can have multiple owners on one house. That's fine as well.
شما وقتی که کلان اپلیکیشن رو انجام میدین میتونین جوینت اپلیکیشن داشته باشین که حالتهای مختلف داره. 100% بچه ها میتونن روی اپلیکیشن باشن، وقتی که اینکام دارن میشه از اینکام اونا استفاده کرد.
مرسی، متشکرم، خیلی ممنون.
خواهش می‌کنم. از دوستان اگه کس دیگه هست که سوالی داره به فارسی، اگر احتمالاً نمیتونن انگلیسی بپرسن، من در خدمتشون هستم. اگر که نه، فکر میکنم از دوستان کسی سوالی داره.
All right. Mo has a question. Go ahead.
سلام آقای عرفان، خیلی ممنون از شما. حالا که شما هست به فارسی ادامه میدم.
بله.
سوالی که داشتم اینه که آیا یه نفر میتونه بیش از مثلا یه دونه مورگیج هم داشته باشه؟ مثلا فرض کنید در مورد خانومی که الان پرسیدن، مثلا فرزندانشون هم برای خودشون مورگیج گرفته باشن، هم به عنوان جوینت اپلیکانت با پدر مادرشون هم مثلا یه جای دیگه درخواست مورگیج داده باشن. یعنی میخوام اینم در حقیقت این میشه که چند تا مورگیج درخواست داده باشیم و همش هم جاری باشه؟
بله میشه که چند تا مورگیج داشته باشین، ولی این هستش که وقتی که شما هر اپلیکیشنی که انجام میدی یه سری محاسبات هست که انجام میده، اون درآمدی که دارن باید اون مبلغ مورگیج رو ساپورت کنه. اگر با اون درآمد نتونن مورگیج رو ساپورت کنن، خب مسلما نمیتونن مورگیج دوم یا سوم رو بگیرن، ولی لیمیتی وجود نداره برای اینکه 1 2 3 4 مورگیج داشته باشین. as long as اینکه درآمدتون اون مورگیج رو ساپورت کنه اوکی هست. So they ask question about like if they can have like more than one mortgage.
Yeah, for sure. Good question. So us at TD, we have a rule of maximum 5 with one bank, but you're allowed up to 9 on your credit bureau.
Okay, سوال دیگه ای هست؟ فکر میکنم میوت هستین شما.
And you can obtain more if, let's say, you get a mortgage on a rental property. That rental is being rented, where you have a tenant paying the mortgage there, paying you rent there. Then you can use that as leverage and potentially obtain a third, fourth. But yeah, each case, like we'll have to see paperwork and proof of everything. But to give you the most general answer, yes, you can.
آقای عرفان
جان،
میتونم یه سوال بپرسم؟
بله بفهم.
ما اگر فرض کنید برای پیش خرید خونه 50% مبلغ رو از ایران بیاریم، بانک تیدی میتونیم روش حساب کنیم که مثلا به ما بتونه سر موقع یه وام مناسبی بده، یا باز هم اون اپرووالا و پری اپرووال نیاز هستش؟ یعنی تو مبلغ بالایی رو بیاریم ولی برای پیش خرید خب فعلا نیاز نداریم، این مبلغ پیش خرید رو میدیم به بیلدر، حالا یه سال دیگه که قرار شد تسویه حساب کنیم با بیلدر میتونیم مثلا از خالا پری اپرووال بگیریم، یا کی باید این کارو بکنیم با تیدی وارد مذاکره بشیم؟
شما هر وقت که خب داون پیمنت رو که از ایران میارین اون که مشکل خاصی نداره. داون پیمنت فقط داستانی که هست اینه که همیشه میگن 3 ماه قبل از اینکه اپلیکیشن رو شروع کنین داون پیمنت باید توی حسابتون باشه. حالا فرقی نداره که تو حساب تیدی باشه یا تو حساب بانک‌های دیگه باشه. بعد از اون شما باید اپلیکیشن رو انجام. شما موقعی که پری اپرووال رو میگیرین 4 ماه اون پری اپرووال اینترست ریت واسهتون بلاک میکنن و میتونین از اون اینترست ریت استفاده کنین. بعد از 120 روز که اون اکسپایر بشه باید دوباره یه اپلیکیشن دیگه انجام بدین. ولی راجع به پیش خرید خونه بحثش فرق میکنه. بذار من از منیجرم بپرسم که بتونه کمک کنه.
پس اگه لطف کنید ببخشید ما پس باید 2 تا پری پیمنت بیاریم، یه دونه بدیم به بیلدر، یکی هم برای بانک بیاریم مثلا 1 سال بعد.
داون پیمنت رو ما بانک اصلا داون پیمنت رو فقط واسه بانک نیست، داون پیمنت نهایتا پرداخت میشه به اون بیلدره. یعنی واسه مورتگیج گرفتن شما حتما نباید همه مبلغ داون پیمنت مثلا 50% داشته باشین، مینیممش از 5%، بعد میشه مثلا معمولا 20% باید داشته باشین که اگه زیر 20% داشته باشه یه سری شرایط خاص دیگه داره که میشه های ریشیو مورتگیج که میره با CMHC، اون بحثش فرق میکنه. ولی بانک فقط داون پیمنت نمیخواد که به شما وام بده. بانک ازتون اینکام میخواد که بتونه اون مورگیجی که دارین میگیرین رو ساپورت کنه، یعنی بتونین اون وامی که گرفتین رو پرداخت کنین. مهمترین قضیه اینکام داشتن اینجاست. ولی واسه بیلدر بذارین من بپرسم.
ممنونم.
Okay. So he has a question about the builder. So is there any like a specific condition whenever they do their pre-approval for the builders?
Pre-approval for a builder follows the same procedure as a regular pre-approval.
Okay.
Once they decide that they're looking to buy a builder house and they have a set in stone purchase agreement with the builder, that's when we convert the application from a pre-approval to a builder. But for starters, if you just want to know how much you can afford, even if it's a builder deal, it's just your standard pre-approval process.
My question is that we should pay your advance payment to the builder, then I will not have any money to deposit in my TD account for the mortgage. What should I do? Because I paid 30%, for example, to the builder, and I want to pay the rest of the money at the end of the year. I want to get a mortgage from the TD, but actually already I paid my prepayment to the builder. I don't have any money to deposit in the TD. What should I do?
Now, did you have a pre-approval before you made that $30,000 commitment with the builder?
No.
No? Okay. So you just have to bring the purchase agreement between you and the builder and the terms on that agreement. We would sit and we discuss your overall finances, income, and that sort. And then we basically will see how much we can approve you based on these things. Credit history, income, and how much you've already provided. Normally that, yeah.
Builder typically makes photocopies of the checks that you give for the deposit. Because they usually make you do post-dated checks. So there is a proof that you've given the deposit to them. I'm not sure if that's part of what you were asking, but I just wanted to say that as well.
سوالتون جواب داده شد؟ اگه جواب نداده شد من بپرسم.
تقریبا، چون حالا سوالم این بود که اگه ما ادوانس پیمنت رو بدیم به بیلدر، دیگه پولی نمیمونه که بخوایم تو بانک تیدی بذاریم که بعدا بخوایم وام بگیریم روش. اینو از اول باید با بانک تیدی بریم جلو، پولو بذاریم، بعد بریم بدیم به بیلدر، یا میتونیم خودمون با بیلدر قرارداد ببندیم، بعد 1 سال مثلا 3 ماه قبل از اینکه سالمون تموم شه با بانک تیدی وارد مذاکره بشیم برای مورگیج گرفتن. چه طریقه بعد اول با تیدی هماهنگ بکنیم بعد بخریم، یا نه میتونیم اول بخریم بعدش موقعی که میخوایم تسویه حساب کنیم با بیلدر سراغ تیدی بیاییم؟
Okay, so they already did the prepayment and they don't have anything for the down payment, but the prepayment would consider as a down payment, right? David, if you can.
Yeah, when you say prepayment, it's a deposit.
Yeah, it's a deposit to the builder.
That's your down payment.
Yeah, that's your down payment.
That is, yep.
اون prepayment که به بیلدر دارین میشه همون down paymentتون.
Yeah, because now you own $30,000 of that property.
And when do they need to apply for mortgage?
Normally the pre-approval, if they were looking for a pre-approval, they'll do that before, or as soon as they gave the deposit, now they should have an agreement. It's definitely a good idea to come in and sit with an advisor to get that mortgage going, because we can lock in, like David was saying, a builder rate. Rates are going up. Builder rates, if we were to lock it in a month from now, are not going to be the same if we're locking in now.
So it will be locked in for 120 days.
Builder rates are
mortgage or no?
Depends on the builder. So there's lists of builders, and each builder has a separate
locked-in period. Yeah.
Yeah. So it all depends on the builder and which list they're under for the rate, but we can still hold the rate. And some builders will not ask you for a pre-approval because they don't. However, most of them now are asking you for a pre-approval at some point in time. So it's good to have it done sooner than later, because if they do ask you for it down the road, hey, you're just going to be more prepared.
Exactly. So normally when you do that deposit, they would give you a purchase agreement with the floor plans, the builder number, all that. So that's the document we're talking about when you bring it in. It's a very lengthy document, but when you bring it in, we'll be able to see how much we can, like how much the rate is and how much we can lock it in for.
اوکی، خب با بیلدرهای مختلفی که کار میکنین یه لیست بیلدرها داره TD که با چه بیلدرهایی کار میکنه و اینکه پری اپرووال واسه بیلدرها فرق میکنه با مورگیج معمولی که انجام میشه چون حالت پیش خرید داره و بهتره که قبلش با فاینانشال ادوایزر بشینین صحبت کنین ببینین شرایطتون چیه که آماده باشین. ولی اون پریپیمنتی که انجام میدین یعنی همون پیش پرداختی که بهشون انجام میدین جزو همون داون پیمنتتون هست.
خیلی ممنون.
خواهش میکنم.
All right, I believe Rahim has a question.
امیر، اگر پولی از ایران بخواد به عنوان گیفت جابجا بشه به اینجا باید فرمودی 3 ماه زودتر این اتفاق بیفته یا من بعد
ببین 3 ماه شما هر وقتی میخوای هر اپلیکیشنی انجام بدین اینا فقط میخوان 3 ماه پول توی حسابتون باشه و ممکنه چون بالاخره سانکشن کانتری هستیم ممکنه ازتون بخوان که سورس این پول کجاست. ولی اگه 90 روز تو حسابتون باشه، حالا مهم هم نیست حتما تو حساب تیدیتون باشه، میتونه تو حساب بانک دیگه ای باشه، 90 روز اون پول قبل از اینکه شما اپلیکیشن رو بخواین انجام بدین بهتره که تو حسابتون باشه، ولی چیز اجباری نیست که حتما 90 روز باشه.
برای انتقال این پول باید از طریق سیستم بانکی ترانسفر بشه یا مثلا میشه از صرافی‌های مجاز کش گرفت آورد؟ این انتقال در عمل چجوری اتفاق میفته؟
بهتره که من بچه‌ها همیشه ازم میپرسن بهتره که از طریق صرافی انجام بشه که مبلغ‌های بالا سورسش مشخص باشه. اینجا مهم اینه واسهشون که سورس پولی که از یه جایی اومده به حسابتون کجا بوده باشه. اگه صرافی بوده باشه و شما حواله گرفته باشی، رسید گرفته باشی، خب مشخصه که از صرافی اومده به حساب نشسته. اگر هم سوالی پرسیده بشه شما میتونی اگه پراپرتی تو ایران داشتی فروختی یا اینوستمنت داشتی فروختی یا یه پولی بوده که از قبل توی حسابت داشته باشی میتونی همون حسابای بانکی رو استیتمنتش رو ارائه بدی. ولی میگم اگه 90 روز باشه معمولاً درخواست همچین چیزی رو نمی‌کنن، ولی اگر هم درخواست بکنن میشه اون ترجمه و مدارک رو بهشون ارائه داد. ولی بهتره که مبلغ‌های بالا رو با صرافی انجام بدین و از طریق حواله بانکی که منبع پول و مقصد پول مشخص باشه. باشه.
ببخشید منظورتون از حواله بانکی یعنی اینه که ما سندایی که پول مثلا تو ایران رو ریختیم به حساب صرافی و اینجا مثلا حالا چک یا هر چیزی از صرافی تحویل گرفتیم اینها رو نگه داریم؟
بله بله. هر مدرکی که نشون میده شما از این صرافی یه مبلغی رو خریداری کردین.
بعد اگر این مدارک رو داشته باشیم دیگه امکانش هست که بازم مشکل پیش بیاد یا نه دیگه خیالمون راحت باشه؟
ببین مشکل که هیچ وقت پیش نمیاد. میگم تا موقعی که منبع و مقصد پول مشخص باشه هیچ مشکلی پیش نمیاد. میگم تا موقعی که اینا تنها چیزشون اینه که 90 روز پول اون داون پیمنتی که داری تا 90 روز توی یه حسابی بوده باشه. اولینش اینه. اگه 90 روز بوده باشه خب معمولا بیشتر اوقات سوالی اصلا نمیپرسن. ولی اگه کمتر از 90 روز باشه یا بخوان سوالی بپرسن از شما میپرسن که خب این منبع پول از کجا بوده. شما یا یه خونه فروختی یا این پول تو حسابت بوده تو ایران یا یه منبعی داره دیگه. حالا هر اون ترانزکشن هایی که تو ایران داشتی یا اون صورت حسابی که تو ایران داشتی رو میتونی ترجمه کنی بهشون ارائه بدی. ولی میگم معمولا اگه پول از طریق صرافی انتقال داده باشه به حسابتون سوال خاصی نمیپرسن. ولی حتما از طریق صرافی انجام بدید.
بعد یه سوالی که دوستان زیاد میپرسیدن در مورد گیفت بود. حالا من ببخشید به فارسی ادامه میدم. میخوام ببینم که این گیفت آیا واقعا مزیتی داره بر اینکه ما بگیم که مثلا فرض کنین یک اموال خودمون رو توی ایران فروختیم؟ یعنی از نظر بحث تکس و اینا هست یا چیز دیگه ای هم داره؟
Okay. So بذار اینو بپرسم ازش. Okay, so he has a question about the gift. Is there any benefits for the gift letter, or because is there any like tax implication for the gift letter or something like that? It would be better if they have a property in Iran and they sell that one and they want to transfer that money. It would be better to like consider that one as a gift, or they can.
Good question for sure. One thing I do want to make clear, so we're not tax professionals, so we cannot give any tax advice. I just want to make that disclosure very clear. What's taxed normally is income. Gifts are not taxable generally. So if the funds are being processed from a different country as a gift, yes, it is doable. We'll need the gift letter and any type of documentation to prove where the funds is coming from. Normally, the requirement is if the funds are in the account for less than 90 days, then the general rule of thumb is we need some documentation to show where the funds are coming from. Over 90 days, again, generally, we do not require documents. It's up to the credit center, which is the approval center for us, whether they request documents to show where the funds came from or not, if it's over 90 days. So to quickly answer your question, it depends. Generally speaking, income is taxed, gifts are not.
Thank you, Ibrahim.
No problem. All right.
اگه سوال دیگه ای دارن بپرسن. بله، رحیم جان بفرمایید.
Sorry, Ibrahim. Let's continue in English. I think it would be easier.
No worries.
If I want to transfer money from my country to here, is there any kind of limitation? I even don't want to buy a house. I just want to transfer, for example, $100,000 into my account. Maybe I will think about buying a house 3 months later. Now that I am depositing this amount into my account, do you ask any kind of question about money laundering, or where was the source of this money, or not?
Good question for sure. Again, it's a case-by-case scenario, and normally there is a specific department in TD for all incoming wire payments for global anti-money laundering. They are the ones that might reach out to you with questions about it. If they do, or if they do not share this with us, and we have no access or any kind of knowledge on what they do or how they kind of look at accounts from our end. If the wire has been processed and deposited, then you are free to do whatever you want with it from our end. But in that in between, it goes to global anti-money laundering department. And to be completely honest with you, I am not sure what kind of procedures they do, or if they contact you for certain deposits or not.
Okay, let's assume that my father gives me a gift of $100,000, but he has no document for that. He just has something in his account and transfers that amount to me. I sold a house or a land or something. Does it make any kind of problem? I'm not planning for money laundering. I'm just
no, I get you. No, trust me.
If I get some money, would it be freezed or?
No, trust me, I get you, man. Don't worry. I know exactly what you're referring to. It's just from my end, I cannot like quote anything and then be wrong after, because it depends on the country and where the money is coming from, and like there's a lot of rules and regulations that go to the back of it. My recommendation is keep any type of documentation on hand, whether it's bank statements, purchase agreements, just in case someone asks, just so you can have a solid base that you can say, okay, this is not income to not get taxed on it. This is actually genuinely a gift from my father to me. Just keep any type of documentation on hand in case it gets asked for. But I cannot speak for her global anti-money laundering department, because it's out of my scope. I hope that answers it a little bit.
Sure, thank you.
Of course. All right, any more questions there? Let's see. All right, so it doesn't seem that anyone has any questions. Again, I want to take the time to thank you guys for allowing us to do this, for allowing us to share our thoughts with first-time home buyers. I want to also thank Irfan for giving us this connection and this opportunity to present here. And with that being said, I'm not sure if Irfan or David have some closing remarks here, so...
Just thank you everyone for your time, and we'd be more than happy to help any of you out with whatever your financial goals or plans happen to be.
Mm-hmm. And also what I did is I sent the slides to Irfan on his work and personal email, so he will then be sharing the slides with you guys. They have all the information that we've covered today. They also have the branch's contact information in case you guys are looking to book an appointment with one of us to kind of look at the overall financial picture, obtain a mortgage, investment advice. We help with all sorts of things here. And we can do it in person or virtually. So Irfan hopefully will be sharing that with you guys after this meeting.
ممنون از همه دوستانی که اومدن امروز. خیلی خوشحال شدم که دیدمتون و صحبت کردم باهاتون. امیدوارم که جلسه خوبی بوده باشه. بعد اینکه تمام کانتکت دیتیلز ما هست. اگر کسی سوالی داره میتونه به من یا ابراهیم ایمیل بزنه یا زنگ بزنه، چون اکستنشن ما هست. هر سوالی بود ما خوشحال میشیم که بتونیم کمکی بکنیم. فقط می‌خواستم ببینم اگه دوستان سوال دیگه ای ندارن بتونیم جلسه رو جان
برای کارت اعتباری هم میتونیم با شما در تماس باشیم یا صرفاً مورگیج؟
کردیت کارت منظورتونه؟
بله بله.
میتونیم با من در تماس باشین. من خودم انجام نمیدم ولی خب همکارام هستن که انجام بدن و اگه سوالی باشه میتونم کمک کنم. هر سوالی بوده حالا راجع به خدمات بانکی یا سرویس های بانکی میتونین با من در ارتباط باشین، یا خودم میتونم واسهتون انجام بدم یا همکارام هستن که بتونن انجام بدم.
خیلی ممنون.
خواهش میکنم.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, and hope you enjoy the rest of the week and your weekend as well. All right. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ibrahim.
Thanks.
Thank you, David.